Hello and good evening. Welcome to Marcus Made in America. We've got a great show for you tonight. And this show maybe should be rated NR-17 or something like that. What do you think, Austin? Should it be rated NR-17?
Yes, NC-17.
NC-17.
Yes, and also bring the mic a little closer to your mouth.
Bring the mic closer.
Yeah, just get right up in there.
But if I get right up in there, is it still PG-13 or did it go?
Now it's NC-17. Now that's the way it should be.
Listen, let's get this. This is the evening night hotline, and any callers to this number will hear the smooth sounds of Marcus C. Williams as he tells you about all of the ongoings in the world and what's happening with the movements that are going on. So definitely tune in, strap up, and stay wet, y'all.
Oh wow.
Drink water.
Is that what stay wet means?
Indeed.
Oh, okay.
Indeed.
Good. Boy, I never knew that. I'm going to start using that in public now.
Listen, you have to stay hydrated. Anybody that tells you anything different is not a friend of yours. Okay. Staying hydrated is one of the most important things that you can do. Yeah. And I highly recommend that you drink water as much as possible.
Who is on the other side of that issue? Who is telling you not to stay hydrated?
The soda companies, the beer companies, the alcohol companies.
Well, I never listen to them. That's insane.
As you hear the can open in the background.
There's no way they heard that.
Yeah. So, I mean, hey, if they have you dehydrated, then they'll consistently get more of your money because you're always going to be thirsty. Aha.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. What do they say? Create the issue and also come up with the solution, right?
Create demand. Yeah. And then you just you get the supply first and then you create demand and then they come to you.
There you go. So we're going to hop into it and talking about things that have started and then people that seem to have been benefiting from them are also going out there and profiting. So let's talk about school boards. Yay! Everybody loves school boards. So there have been a lot of fights and back and forths going on with school boards this year all across our nation. And let me tell you, there have been some hair-raising and thought-provoking speeches given by parents. I mean, let me tell you, these parents are out here doing it up. They are so serious about their children's educations and what they're being taught in school right now that nobody can tell them anything else. I mean, you look at Oregon the other week, they made it so people didn't have to actually know how to read or write or do math in order to graduate high school. I mean, I don't know what type of what do you call those prize diplomas or the diplomas that come out of the gumball machines or anything like that?
GEDs? The good enough degree?
Not even you have to do math and learn how to read to get a GED. So, I mean, I don't even know what these, I mean, I guess like 10 people live in Oregon, and I guess I don't really consider Oregon the smartest of all states. I mean, do you find them to be like highly technologically advanced when you think of the state of Oregon?
I mean, they got trees.
Exactly. I think they have a river or two also.
Yeah.
So that's a thing. So I don't know what's going on with the teachers unions all across our nation right now. It seems like the teachers unions are really doing a lot of the children in a lot of the school districts a disservice. Right now, they're pushing things that they feel are, how can you say, makes them feel good. Honestly, the school board, it's they're pushing these things that are really Marxist ideas and communist ideas so that they can push them on the children and the youth so that they can get the similar. Honestly, let's look at it like this. They're brainwashing the children. They're brainwashing the children and they're teaching them to be communists and Marxists because that's what they want, because that's what's good and wholesome in society now. If you're not a good government loving, science believing communist, then you don't belong. You know, if you don't trust everything that's coming through the school system that they're deciding to put in front of your child, you're a racist. You know, even if the schools are teaching that segregation is okay and they're separating black students and white students in separate classrooms and stuff like that, because segregation is okay, understand that you, the person who believes that this is wrong, must be the racist individual in the room. Because you don't like what is it they're calling it now? Equity?
Yeah, are you talking about, was it Georgia that they're doing that?
Oh my goodness, Georgia. I heard that what do you call it? Geneseo. The college is doing that in the dorms. I don't know how accurate that is, but I heard it twice. So it seems very interesting. I don't know what in the world is going on right now. And you got to make sure that I'm staying in frame, because let me tell you, people out there in podcast land and in video land, I have been trying to adjust this camera for weeks.
I had it set up perfectly, and then you come in, start messing everything up. Let me tell you, I set it up. I was sitting in the chair. I was perfectly in frame, and we are exactly the same height.
This is what he says when I assure you that I am Marcus height and he is Austin height. I assure you.
Exactly the same. You're about 6'3", right?
This is what I am, definitely Marcus height, and 6'3" is not Marcus height. However, he also had another guy sitting down and who is equally as tall, okay, and is saying that because of you know, us Marcus heighted individuals, you know, it's not the camera, it's Marcus heighted individuals. So I don't know how I feel about that, you guys. I don't know how I feel about that. I think Marcus heighted individuals should have equally good focus of camera and framing.
All right. Well, maybe you should sit in the Kimberly seat next time. Maybe that's a little closer to Marcus height. I don't know.
Now I'm the height of a lady.
I didn't say that.
Is that what you're saying?
No, I implied it.
It was. Oh wait, you mean like what Joe Biden said about implying that all of everything was going to be okay in Afghanistan?
Oh yeah, well nobody's dying over there. Remember he said that like 2 days ago.
You know, the Taliban is just being great over there in Afghanistan. They're letting all of our troops come out and everybody pull out and everything's safe. And even though they're going door to door to check, mark off, and find people who have helped and assisted the allies and America, well, they're not looking for repercussions on those who may have stood against them later on. Of course not. Why would they want that, right? They're just the Taliban. I mean, usually I'm not facetious, you guys, but right there I was being facetious. Yeah, definitely. Or is it sarcastic?
I think, is it facetious? Isn't that just like a fancy word for sarcastic?
They're similar. They're similar indeed. So yeah. So back to the school boards. Man, it's a mess in the schools right now. So I really want to thank the parents that are coming out across the nation and that are standing up to these school boards that are teaching this ridiculous nonsense, like comprehensive sexual education. Okay, I do not think that they should be teaching things like that without also teaching kids responsibility and critical thinking skills and why family is important, as well as the reasons why having a healthy sexual relationship is important. These are just things that they're not actually teaching in school, but they want to teach your kids about sex, which could lead to children. I'm just saying, or sexually transmitted disease. Okay. So they don't teach you about staying with one partner. They don't teach you the dangers of sleeping around. They teach you, oh yes, let's sex it up. I guess that's what they do.
Well, did they show you did they have the banana in your class? The banana with the condom?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Do they still do that?
I had a teacher that put it on with her mouth.
Oh my god!
I'm not talking about on me.
All
I
right,
promise you.
boy, maybe
that was not what
you had a different sexual education than
Listen,
I did.
Everybody that is a guy has had at least one teacher. Well, hopefully they had at least one teacher that they thought was attractive, and even many females have said that is had teachers that were attractive as well and thought things like that. Anyway,
Sure.
So, but the school boards are putting their own interests above both the teachers, not the school boards, but the teachers unions are putting their own interests above both the teachers and the children. And that's a problem. They're pushing for things like mandates for vaccinations and masking, even though the science, which we're supposed to be trusting, says that kids do not really catch it or spread it. They'll say, oh, well, the new Delta variant is happening to more children. That is not correct. Okay. That is not correct. The number of hospitalizations, the number of mortalities and comorbidities are just not there for that amount of stuff. It's crazy. They've got children masking in schools when they're out here saying that kids don't transfer it in schools. It's highly unlikely to get picked up in schools because of the way that the air system is in most schools, and the fact that small children don't really pick it up, transfer it, or carry it like that. I honestly don't know where the research is that they're saying that children are transmitting it. Like, have you seen or even heard any data related to that, Austin? Actual kids transmitting the virus? Have you heard that?
No, not really.
It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. And it's interesting that we don't see that at all, but they want to put mask mandates in school and mask the children. I wish I would have had the picture together with Kathy Hochul. Hochul.
I think Hochul. Okay. Hochul. I think that's
okay. Kathy Hochul.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what we need to just start calling her middle name, whatever that is, because that last name is something else. Apologies to all the Hochuls out there. I'm no yokel, so I'm not sure how to pronounce Hochul. So there was a picture with her, and she was visiting these schools, and all of the adults have their masks off, and the children are the ones wearing the masks. It's insanity. This is the world that we live in right now. Like, the reason why I take so much of an issue with it is, let's think about this. Children are still developing, and their brains need the water and the oxygen so that they can grow and be healthy and nourish the rest of their body. I think that is a crucial part of growing up and coming into your body. I mean, I guess that's what bodies do. I guess maybe you're already inside your body and it just kind of grows around you. However that works out. But it's very interesting as we move forward and we talk about things like Afghanistan, with what's going on with Biden right now, pulling out all of the forces and Afghanistan falling to ruin. And all of the sudden, Kamala Harris wants to go and visit Vietnam. Kamala Harris wants to go visit Vietnam. Are you serious right now? Like, the only other country that we really had a seriously flawed pullout of that was on TV and televised that made us look absolutely terrible. That's where you're going. That's where you pick. I can't even. Did you see the pictures of the Taliban, you guys out there? Did you see the pictures of the Taliban making fun of the United States military dressing up in their outfits and stuff because of all of the equipment and arms that were left behind in Afghanistan? It's insane because they don't want you to have firearms, but they'll give them to terrorists. They don't want law-abiding citizens in America to have firearms, but they will give it to our enemies who have pledged to destroy America and kill American civilians. American-made firearms. Am I missing something here? Then remember a little while ago, Joe Biden said, well, if you want guns because you think that you're going to take over the US, you might need a little bit more than that. So then let everybody have guns, Joe. Let everybody have guns. An armed society is a polite society, Joe. But to touch on that too, he also finished that by saying is if you want to overthrow the US, well, you're going to need some nukes and some what did he say? F-16s? What did he say? F-18s? I don't even know.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So personally, I love the F-22. I'm so disappointed they canceled that program. But the Raptor was the amazing thing. Amazing plane. But yeah, so these goat herders, I said it, they're goat herders. Most of them are goat herders. Okay, that live on little dirt plots of land. This is true. Okay, they mostly do what do you call that? Agrarian. They mostly live agrarian lifestyles. Okay, of farming and raising livestock in the middle of the desert and rocky terrain. This is where these people make their homes, and this is what they deal with on a daily basis. And these goat herders took on the United States Army and rebuffed us. So I guess you don't need military planes or nukes to stop the US. This is so insulting. I can't believe it. I'm going to talk about something else because I'm just fit to be tired with Afghanistan. And I don't know if you saw it, you guys. I don't know. So I guess last month, bomb explosion blew up 9 Chinese people in a bus that were allegedly going to work on a dam in Afghanistan, allegedly. And Pakistan is over here talking about, oh, well, it was India and Afghanistan that killed the Chinese people. And remember that Pakistan is being given $65 billion by the Chinese for the Belt and Road Initiative, which is helping Pakistan modernize their infrastructure while giving China leverage over them. It's a real serious thing, and people need to pay more attention to it. We've got Afghanistan just in tatters and shambles, and the EU is very concerned right now because of the refugees. Remember, the EU is still dealing with the crisis of the refugees from Africa and from Syria. So they're in serious straits right now. And they've been fighting about that back and forth for some time right now. I mean, what? Probably about 15 years. What do you say? How long ago was Obama president? Like almost 6 years ago?
Yeah, roundabouts.
Yeah, so we went into Syria, what? Probably about 10, 12 years ago, something like that maybe now. So it's a problem. It's a real issue. And with China and Russia coming together and doing joint military exercises, it's crazy. So that's happening. And at the same time that that's happening, China is scattering bombers by Taiwan and doing other military exercises over by Taiwan, threatening to blow them up, threatening to blow Taiwan up. And in the meantime, the U.S. is pulling out of Afghanistan, making us look all bad and weak over there. You think that China isn't going to test us? You think that Iran isn't going to test us after this weakness? It's insane. It's insane. And there's just so much hate and so much division on the news and on the media every day about why we should be separate, about why we should be fighting against each other internally. And it's sad. It's pitiful, really. We need to step it up being America, man. America used to be great. I mean, I've heard tell that America was never great, but whoever said that needs to kick themselves in their own kneecap. I feel like that's amply fitting. So we've got other enemies in Venezuela. We've got Venezuela going on. You know, we got Juan Guaido and Nicolas Maduro, right? Maduro. That
sure.
Right? Anyway, he doesn't like us too much. He calls us all types of terrible names. And good old Saint Nick down there doesn't really want anything to do with us. He calls everybody a puppet of the American regime and all types of bad talk about us. So Juan Guaido wants to be our friend. He's the opposition leader. So they're going to negotiate in Mexico. I think it started Friday. Might have started Friday. We'll see what comes out of there. But at least they haven't killed Juan Guaido yet. So I mean, that's something. Is he good? I don't know. Is he bad? I don't know. Seems like Nicolas Maduro kind of messed everything up, but he says it's the fault of all the sanctions. But also it has to do with gross mismanagement, displacement of power, and redistribution of wealth, focusing it in the hands of the few when it's supposed to be for the many, even though you're a socialist regime and you don't actually do what you said. But hey, the world and socialism, huzzah, madness. So we've got speaking of in the Mexico, we've got all of the immigrants, right? And the issues at the southern border. We've got the issues in Texas with the voting. And now we've got Governor DeSantis. Hey, Governor DeSantis. So he's out there setting up monoclonal antibody sites. I think that's amazing. Did you know he was doing that, Austin? Monoclonal antibody sites. He's setting them up. Isn't that kind of amazing?
I don't. Those are words.
Those are words. Those are words. That's a true thing. So, do you know what monoclonal antibodies are?
I know what antibodies are.
You know what antibody? Okay, so what are antibodies?
Antibodies are cells in your system that fights viruses and whatnot.
Right. Okay, so monoclonal antibodies. I'm going to read the definition that the NIH gives it. Okay, not my personal definition, but are laboratory-made versions of proteins naturally produced by the immune system in response to invading viruses or pathogens. Neutralizing antibodies, whether natural or monoclonal, can bind directly to portions of viruses that they use to attach to and enter cells, preventing them from initiating infection in the cell. Monoclonal antibodies may provide short-term protection for SARS-CoV-2 and could serve as important components of the COVID-19 pandemic response. So they work, apparently. That's coming from the NIH, right? So the NIH says monoclonal antibodies work. So Governor DeSantis is putting them all out there all over the place because they're actually, well, better for you than the than what's going on with the vaccines. Do you guys know that people who are vaccinated that end up getting hospitalized that need treatment are given monoclonal antibody treatment? Isn't that amazing? I think that's amazing. I think that we must really be undervaluing monoclonal and Jiminy crackers. How many times can you say that in a row, Austin? Give it a shot.
Let's monoclonal. Is that it?
Half of one.
Nailed it.
I mean, but yeah, it's a funny word, but it's an effective process. It's very effective. So they're trying to push that in Florida because they do understand that even if you are vaccinated, you can still contract it. You still do need to be taken care of if that's the case. And if you are vaccinated, you still do have a risk of getting it, transmitting it, and being hospitalized or dying. I mean, the likelihood of anybody being hospitalized or dying, vaccinated or unvaccinated, is highly unlikely. But with monoclonal antibodies, it's very, very good at treating the symptoms that come from a serious reaction, even in those who are already vaccinated. So it makes you wonder why that's not all over the TV. Do you know that they put in the emergency authorization for that with the FDA about the same time they got the ones for the vaccinations? So that's very interesting there. But they really haven't been talking about that. They haven't been talking about what's the I1 ivermectin, permethrin, epinephrine, ivermectin. I know somebody should be watching this that knows what it's called. Ivermectin. Is that right? That sounds right.
What?
Ivermectin.
What are you talking about?
Ivermectin. You don't know ivermectin? I feel
No,
like that's
that-
the word. Oh,
that-
look, pull it up.
What
on the internet.
that medicine
Pull it
you
up.
just made up?
Yes, I did not make that medicine up. I am telling you that is a real medicine.
Oh, okay, I believe it.
Ivermectin. So they give it to animals and stuff, but they used to give it to purples. They used to give it to purples too. They used to give it to people too. Anti-malaria, anti-parasitic, stuff like that. It's really interesting. Hey, is that Mike the man? All right. Hey, Mike, welcome back. All right, good to see you out there. So they're actually not pushing for the other treatments like ivermectin. They're saying that they're trying to actually stop prescribing it for animals because too many people are getting it. They said that some people were doing the wrong types of dosages because they were trying to convert it for humans. So because they were trying to convert it for humans from the animals, it wasn't always the right dosage. So some people were getting poisoned. So now they're trying to stop that. So you can't have that either, and just taking away the options. And don't forget hydroxychloroquine and the fact that that now works according to Fauci, but they don't want you to have that either. It's all about money and power, folks. It's all about money and power. None of it is about your health. None of it is about big businesses all of this sudden caring about you and having a heart, because when have they ever really cared about anything more than their bottom line? And the second that we wake up in America and we realize that this is not about public health, this is not about individual health, this is about power, control, and money, then we'll actually be able to stand up to the government and to the media and tell them how full of malarkey they are and that we're not going to go for it anymore. But we have to wake up, and those lights need to be coming on in you guys' head out there in your eyes so that you can see what's going on, because what's going on is not okay. The direction that our government is taking us with all of these mandates, vaccine passports, and everything else is crazy. So in France over the weekend, they had 175,000 people protesting vaccine passports. And in America, we really need to get on that because it's a serious issue with, guess what? Yep, those COVID passports. It's crazy. What are COVID passports an issue for, Austin? What would you say? What do you think I'm going to say? I think he already knows because he's seen the stuff that I've sent him already.
Freedom of I don't know, privacy.
Privacy. Oh yes.
Yeah.
So there we go. See, he looks at what I send him. So yeah, so with the COVID passports, there lies a serious issue of privacy. Okay, our rights and our freedoms in America right now are being stripped away on a daily basis. We wake up every morning, we have less and less liberties. The government is overreaching more and more, and we really need to pay attention to what's going on. If we don't pay attention to what's going on, soon all of our liberties, freedoms, and rights will be taken from us, and nobody will know what had happened because it will have happened so quickly that nobody noticed, because it happened over time and piecemeal, and people will think it happened all at once when that wasn't what really happened. It's just little teeny bits. I think they call it in French a fait accompli, something like that. So people that speak French out there, help me out with that. I think it's a fait accompli. Basically, which is like piecemeal, or to take bites out of something until it's no more. Basically, I don't know the actual translation verbatim, but it's kind of crazy. We have some comments out there. What's going on out there in the comment in the world? All right. And yeah. So a friend, okay. So we've got Mike the man out there in TV land. He's talking about he said his sister had her first shot of Moderna vaccine and had an, what do you say, an anaphylactic shock and 2 times, and now she carries an EpiPen around because she almost died. Actually, I heard the same thing from a nurse friend of mine who is also fully vaccinated. After she got her second vaccination, now she's having heart issues, and she had to report to a cardiologist, and she's on medication now too. And it's insane that a lot of the reactions that are going on all across the world, and we're seeing them a lot in children. And England is calling for them to end the use of the vaccines because there are too many casualties and side effects, far more than any other vaccines or drugs that have ever been really released on this wide a scale. Well, nothing's ever been released on this wide a scale. So anything released on really any level of a scale. So that's kind of concerning. Now we also have Moderna, which has a new HIV drug. It's amazing. Moderna just comes up with everything that they come from our mRNA. So they say that mRNA isn't gene editing. They say that it's not gene therapy. They say that it's something else. But anybody that knows anything about science, genetics, or biology knows that mRNA is exactly gene therapy. Okay. I'm not here to argue with you about it. Okay. I love genetics. I love gene editing. I love CRISPR. I love eugenics, all of that. Okay. Eugenics gets a bad rap because they're really trying to depopulate the world and kill people off. And under the Nazis, eugenics really kind of took a very far leap into exclusivity amongst whites and breeding super soldiers. But eugenics gets more of a bad rep than it deserves. But that aside, I believe in the science behind it. But the fact of the matter is that if the vaccines that they have right now that are for COVID don't work with COVID on the level and scale that people think that they do, what level and scale would the vaccine, and I say that like that because I mean the words that people use, would it even be a vaccine? Okay, vaccine against HIV? Like, I mean, a vaccine against HIV. Austin, isn't that an amazing thing?
Yep.
I mean, it really is. But how much money has been spent on HIV studies and stuff over the years, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, poof, Moderna. They come up on the scene, less than a year, 2 years in business, and they've already got a cure for coronavirus, which doesn't actually operate as a cure, but operates allegedly as a vaccine, which doesn't have the full effectiveness of most vaccines. Um, but now all of the a sudden they have a vaccine for HIV. I wonder how effective, not effective, effective-ish it will be against HIV because they're saying it's a vaccine, and that concerns me. I'm concerned now. Will there be a higher prevalence of HIV, and will HIV end up on an uptick with their vaccinations for HIV? Who the fuck is out? Excuse my language. I'm working on cursing, y'all. Y'all know I curse, so I don't know. That's why I warned you guys in the beginning of the episode. I don't play. But with everything that's going on, with the spread of the coronavirus continuing, even though vaccinations are going at very good percentages, the same company is manufacturing what they're calling a vaccine for HIV, one of the most deadly viruses ever known to man. I'm not saying that you're not able to trust it, but I'm saying I've got serious questions. And if you're taking a vaccine, that implies that you shouldn't be concerned about exposure anymore. So, what message is that really sending? Is the science there? Because the science is still out on most of the COVID vaccinations, which don't even really appear to fit the qualifications to be called vaccinations. I know some people that love me don't like it when I say that, but these are true words. Like, I'm not blowing smoke up your bum. I'm not going to do that. I'm not here for that. I don't believe in any of that. But moving forward, I want to cover a couple more things. Speaking of the HIV issues and crises, and speaking of the schools and the sexual comprehensive education, Jiminy Jam, what happened to family? Austin, what happened to family? Do we talk about family anymore? Is family anywhere anymore? Does family exist even anymore? I think
Yeah, I think the meaning has changed.
You think anybody talks about teaches about having a two a two-parent household anymore?
No, not really.
But why not? Isn't that crucial? Is that not important?
Well, you know what? I might disagree with you on this one. If that's all right. If
No,
I
no,
can
no, 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 no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah. Look, I came from a two my parents were divorced
Mhm,
and I came from a split custody household.
mhm.
And there's still a part of me, by the way, that like even though it's been years, Monday and Wednesdays are dad days, Tuesdays and Thursdays are mom days.
Mhm.
And that's still in my brain, even though that hasn't when I was a kid though, that's how it was. So my parents got divorced when I was 3, and so that's how I grew up. And I don't know. I think I turned out all right, you know? So I don't know that I necessarily believe in the nuclear family in that sense of the two-parent household, like one household, two parents, although
Mhm.
I did have two parents.
Okay.
So while maybe not as traditional as you're leaning, I do think having a mother and a father did help. I'll agree with you to that extent.
That's very beneficial. It's just disappointing when we see that there's been a large turn away from that in our nation, and we need to go back to that. That's one of the biggest things that we need is family, that familial unit more than anything, so that people have a sense of you used to have it where if you did went outside and you did something bad, you were dishonoring your family's name. That's kind of gone. They don't have that anymore. So people just go outside and they act a roar riot. They act crazy because like they have no home training because they don't feel like they're representing anybody but themselves, but they're not even representing themselves very well. Um, but we should do a whole episode on the family, nuclear family and stuff at some point. That would really be a good thing.
Oh, I'd love to go deep on that with you.
Yeah, I think we should do a deep dive on that in some upcoming episodes. Um, but yeah, the nuclear family is very important and we need to promote family, we need to promote morals and values, and we need to promote, well, I mean, hey, not doing crime. I feel like that's a fair sentiment for pretty much everybody can agree. We should be
Well, you know
promoting
what?
not doing crime.
I'm gonna have to 100% agree with you on that one. Oh, see, there's a twist.
I see that one. Right, right. So as we talk about privacy and as we talk about vaccine passports and we talk about everything else going, oh, there's a lot of stuff going on. Let me see what Mike's talking about here. Yep. So Mike's talking about the vaccines and the issues that they cause for side effects. Unfortunately, if you're getting a vaccine or you've gotten a vaccine thus far, um, you basically waived your rights to sue the company or hold them financially responsible for any issues that you have that may arise from the vaccine now or later on at any time in the future. So yeah, you can't sue them. So that's a crazy thing. And they won't really study the side effects of the drugs because they don't want to. That's terrible. That's terrible. But that's like the history of all the drug companies in the world. That's a normal thing at this point. But back to the passports. So in China, the you have no privacy capital of the world. The we control every move that you make. The we're watching you through CCTV all the time. Nation in the world, China. So they've got these health passes over there, and they're also tied to social credit scores and stuff like that. That's another episode. But the health passes have been going off in certain areas and saying that people are positive for coronavirus when they have tested negative and they have negative test results to show it on the same day. And then it goes back later and they scan it later and then it'll say that everything is fine. So these type of errors are continue to pop up all over China. And it really raises a question. Should our government really have that much data on us? Should the government be segregating people and leaving them out because of their vaccination status? Should the government be in control of that much data of where you go, who you're with, when you're around them, how often you're around them, and all of that? And with all of the data that's stolen on a daily basis. They said the other day that China has stolen information and recognizable data on every single American person that is a citizen ever. I don't even know how that's possible. That's a lot of data that they've stolen. Okay. But just think about that. What if a bad actor didn't like you and they said, hey, let's hack this and let's ruin their life? That'd be pretty easy. And we can't say that the government, that would never happen. Oh, the government's so good. They can't even protect their own systems. How many times have all these government systems been hacked over the last couple of years? We had the big solar wind issue. We had the issue with JBS Meats. We had the issue with the pipeline. We had the issue with the electrical grid. We had the issue with, oh man, so many issues with them stealing our data and coming in and doing stuff with data that they're not supposed to. Remember Edward Snowden? Remember he was a hacker? Remember all of these people that worked as hackers? So you know, I'm sure you probably know at least one person that's a half a hacker. But this is the world that we live in now. We're giving all of these liberties, and I don't mean it like the sense of liberty, but I mean liberty like abilities and access to machines to have oversight over us. Next year, Tesla is coming out with a humanoid robot that they say that you'll be able to outrun. That they also say that you should be able to overpower should the need ever arise. All I'm saying is I'm a very strong futurist, and I very much so believe in communications privacy, in your right to your medical privacy, and in your rights to your data privacy. Data privacy is something that's extremely overlooked and very easily manipulated and used against you. And anybody that's been a serious victim of identity theft, of now almost everybody knows at least one person that has been. It's a serious issue, and we need to treat it as such. And the government should not have that much data collected on any individuals, especially considering how faulty and how easily accessible these machines are. They'll tell you, oh no, well, that could never happen. But it seems that so many things that could never happen keep happening. Jiminy crackers. I mean, Austin, how many things this year alone have happened that they said would never happen? Have you run out of fingers and toes?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'll just are we talking about this year or this week? Sorry.
Right, exactly. No.
Yeah.
But seriously. And how many 100 was it 100 or 1,000 year storms? Oh my goodness. Like, oh my goodness.
Oh, storm of the century.
Storm of the century.
Oh yeah.
Wait, listen, we've got 100 storms of the century in the last 10 years. It's madness. But a lot of things have been going on. And we have to remember never to lose sight of the fact that while most of us are patriots and most of us truly believe in America, in the American dream, in the fact that we are united as one people, most people believe in out of many one. And most people believe that united we stand and divided we fall. So why in the hell are we going through so much division in our nation? Like, everybody knows that saying. It's like they take it for granted. Like, oh no, it's okay. It doesn't really mean anything anymore. But you're still gonna put your hand on a hot flame? I think not. Because while it is a saying, it's also a true thing. Like, people need to get on the ball. People need to pay attention. Because right now, everything that America is about is at risk. If we pay attention to the lockdowns and the other crises that are going all over the world, in New Zealand, I think they got like, what does New Zealand have case-wise? They had like 16 cases and they shut down the whole country. Something ridiculous. And New Zealand has been shut off from pretty much all of the other countries since the beginning of this. Okay, they said nobody's coming in, nobody's going out. Okay, so this is really crazy. And Sweden was like, F your masks, F your vaccine, F everything. And Sweden's cool. It's the rest of the world that's suffering. What is going on? Okay, even China, and they're over there burning people alive. And honestly, I thought that was a good idea. I'm serious, but I'm joking at the same time. It's concerning because if that's the level of what would you say it? Action that they're willing to take and they're still having issues, but the country that decided that they're not going to do any of that is having no serious issues and is down to 0 cases. I think that's honestly amazing. Maybe we should be paying attention to what they're doing out there. Maybe it's us who's got it wrong because all of the data shows that lockdowns don't work. But now all of a sudden they want you to put a mask back on if you're vaccinated. If you're vaccinated, they want you to put a mask on. And Austin, you better stay 6 feet back. And I'm not saying just because you got out of that tennis match. I'm just saying. It's very interesting. If you're vaccinated right now and they told you that you would get your freedoms back after you were vaccinated, and now they're trying to take them away, how do you feel about that? Have you sat back and thought about that? Because you should be thinking. You should be thinking hard and long about this. You should be thinking about the fact that they're clocking where all vaccinated people are at all times, who these vaccinated people are with, and where they go, how often they stay there, how many times they go there, and what they do. And this is for vaccinated people. Dear vaccinated people, stop allowing them to strip away your rights, liberties, and freedoms for the sense of false security that they're giving and selling you. You've been vaccinated. Why are you still giving up your rights and liberties to the government? Because they're insisting to you that the science has changed? Let's be honest. How many scientific journals have you read? Would you know that the science has changed? Who's funding these scientific journals? Would you know? How do you know? Because the thing of the matter is that we as Americans know better than to trust our government. We as Americans know better than to trust our media. So why are we trusting them on this all of the sudden when they're continuing to pull away all of our freedoms and liberties, even if we obey what they say? You got the shot. You got vaccinated. They said that if you do that, you're doing your part. But now they want you to put masks back on. They're telling you that if you're vaccinated, that you can still pass it, transmit it, receive it. I don't know, rub it down, shake it together, all types of nonsense, craziness. Okay. It's insane what's going on right now. And we need to be very cognizant about our rights, liberties, and freedoms that are being stripped away. We have to be aware of how this is affecting our economy. We have to be aware of how this is affecting our businesses. We have to be aware of how this is affecting our supply chains and our lines of goods. And I mean, hey, go to the store, try to buy some meat lately. Don't try to buy some eggs because you won't find them. It's really, really interesting to pay attention to what's going on to our economy today because of all of the issues that have been spun around on their head because of the COVID restrictions that have been put in place. So I need you to ask yourself, is everything that they're doing really the right choice? If other countries have done it and they've done better without doing any of it? If it's still pushing out there allegedly hard in the world, even though there are much less deaths, much less hospitalization rates, how do you know? I read in ABC yesterday on the news. They said, they said we're on the 6th or 7th wave. I think it was the 6th wave. I said, well, Jiminy gosh. I said, what happened to the 4th and the 5th wave? Somebody said there was a 2nd wave. I said yes, I know there was a 2nd wave, but I heard something about a 3rd wave, and now they're on the Lord knows what wave. Yeah, I saw that the Pfizer was fully approved today. Mike, that's crazy. It really, really is. I mean, honestly, we know that it has issues with it and stuff like that. And we need to really, really, really pay attention to the side effects. But nobody wants to study that because that might make the people that are making money look like they might not know what they're talking about, or they might be wrong. And they can't have that because that just wouldn't be right. So when you're at home and you're sitting and you're thinking about what's going on in America, I want you to think about your rights. I want you to think about your liberties. And I want you to think about our nation. I want you to think about how united we stand, divided we fall. I want you to think about what you can do to push in your own community and promote unity. I want you to think what you can do to help bring other people around to the light and express to them how serious an issue we're having with our liberties and freedoms right now, and that they need to stand up too. Because a lot of people do believe the same type of things that we believe, but they either don't hear people talking about it or they're too harsh when they're talking about it. Let's be honest. People make jokes about people being snowflakes nowadays. A lot of people are pretty much snowflakes. People aren't all as tough as you think they are. Like a lot of people who you think would be tough, you start to tell them something that they don't like or they don't want to hear, and they just shut down. They can be built like a brick house, and it's serious, and they'll just shut it down anyway. They'll just be like, no, I don't want to hear that. So you have to figure out how to talk to other Americans that might seem to hold different views or not necessarily the same as you, and try to work to bring them around. Say, hey, pay attention. We know the government's not out for us as citizens. We have to make sure that they're not using government overreach to destroy our freedoms and liberties that are gifted to us by the Lord and the Constitution. Like, we can do this, but we have to do it together. We have to do it united. If we're going to say, hey, this is America, and we want America to be better than it was yesterday, then we have to stand up to our local elected officials. We have to stand up to our state level officials, and we have to tell them that they're doing too much. They're doing too much. They're costing us our Americanism so that they can stay in power, so that they can whittle away money from the public coffers and push us further into debt. We're trillions of dollars into debt, and they just keep adding to it. They're like, let's push more funding for this, let's push more funding for that. Do you know that most of the COVID relief funds won't even be spent for another 5 years? So who did they really relieve? Themselves? Question mark. Like the money that they were supposed to spend already, they haven't even spent that. So what's really going on with our government? And it's got to start at the local level of government. Stand up in your local government. Stand up in your town hall. Stand up in your city council. Stand up on your supervisor's board or whatever you have in your township or area, and just tell them, don't forget that America is about freedoms and liberties. America is about morals and values, and we must do more to foster the American way. Because if we keep going the way that we're going, patriotism will die. Patriotism will go away and will be erased and replaced by Marxist, totalitarian individuals running everything that you do in every aspect of your day-to-day life. And as an American and as a dutiful citizen, I know that's not what you want. So I implore you, please stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. You guys be blessed and be well. Thank you for tuning in this week. I'm glad to spend this time with you. Please remember that if you want to advertise on the show, reach out to us. We will definitely have you on here and advertise. We love you. We'd love to give you some airtime, let people know what you've got going on. Also, if you're in Rochester, New York, this Saturday, I've got an event going on at Liberty Pole. It's the Rock Unite for Liberty celebration. It's going to be from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Saturday downtown at Liberty Pole in Rochester, New York. Tell your friends, tell your family, everybody come on out. We're going to talk about our freedoms and liberties, and why they're important and why we must make sure that we continue to uphold them. We're going to possibly have some food vendors, maybe some music. Oh, yeah. But I'm out here working to make it happen. And do remember that I am running for city council in Rochester. So if you like what I'm talking about and the fact that I'm pushing America and our values and our morals so that we can be better as a nation, please check out my website and definitely donate. Marcus4Rochester.com. That's MARCUS, the number 4, Rochester.com. All right. You guys have a great one, and I'll catch you guys next week. Be blessed and be well.